The night everything changed started like any other for Kate Thompson. She was cleaning up after dinner, her hands deep in soapy water, when a bright flash lit up her small backyard garden. At first, she thought it was lightning, but the quiet summer evening held no trace of storms. Then came the crash. It wasn't loud enough to wake the neighbors, but it sent her flower pots tumbling from their shelves. Kate dried her hands quickly and grabbed the old baseball bat she kept near the back door. As a single mom living on the outskirts of town, she had learned to be careful. The sight in her garden made her drop the bat. A small ship, no bigger than her car, had carved a path through her vegetable patch. It glowed faintly blue, and wisps of steam rose from its metal surface. Kate's first thought wasn't about aliens or danger. It was about her tomatoes. She had spent months growing them. "Hello," she called out, surprised by her own courage. "Is anyone hurt?" A section of the ship's side slid open with a soft hiss. Kate took a step back, but curiosity kept her from running inside. A hand emerged from the opening. A hand with long, elegant fingers and skin that shimmered like polished silver. "Please," a voice called out weakly. "Help us." Kate moved forward without thinking. Years of maternal instinct took over as she reached the ship's opening. Inside, she found two passengers. The first was tall and thin, his silver skin now pale and dull. He wore what looked like a business suit, but made of material that seemed to flow like water. Blood of a deep purple color stained his chest. But it was the second passenger that made Kate's heart stop. A child, no more than 6 years old, lay sleeping peacefully despite the crash. The child's skin was a soft blue, like the sky on a clear day. They looked so peaceful, so innocent, that Kate reached out instinctively to check if they were breathing. "My name is Ray," the silver-skinned man said, his voice growing weaker. "And I'm dying. I'll call an ambulance," Kate started to say, pulling out her phone. Ray's hand gently stopped her. "No time. No use. I chose you, Kate Thompson. I've been watching. Learning. My kind can sense good souls, and yours." He paused, coughing softly. "Yours shines brighter than most." "How do you know my name?" Kate asked, but Ray was already pulling out a small device that looked like a glass tablet. "My child," he said, touching the sleeping figure. "And my fortune. All I have. It's yours now, to protect, to nurture." His fingers danced across the tablet's surface. "The legal transfer is done. My lawyers will come. They'll explain everything." Kate's mind spun. "But I don't." "They're coming for us," Ray continued. "Bad people. Greedy people. They can't have my research, can't have my child." His eyes, a deep gold color, locked onto Kate's. "You're a good mother. I've seen how you care for others. How you help without asking for reward. My child needs that. Needs love more than power." The child stirred slightly but didn't wake. Ray touched their head gently, and a small smile crossed his face. "Their name is Sky," he whispered. "They're special. More than you know. More than they know." His breathing grew shallow. "Promise me. Promise you'll protect them." Kate found herself nodding, tears in her eyes for this dying stranger and his innocent child. "I promise." Ray's smile grew wider. "Good," he said. "Good." His hand found Kate's and squeezed it weakly. "The stars led me to you. Trust your heart. It's why I chose you." With those words, the light faded from Ray's golden eyes. His hand grew slack in Kate's grip. Above them, the first stars of evening appeared in the darkening sky, twinkling as if they knew a secret. In the quiet garden, with crushed tomato plants around her and a sleeping alien child beside her, Kate Thompson's life changed forever. She didn't know about the fortune yet, or the danger, or the adventures to come. She only knew that a child needed her. And that, for now, was enough. Kate spent the night sitting on her garden bench, holding the sleeping Sky while watching strange people in dark suits remove Ray's ship. They worked silently and efficiently, making the crash site disappear as if it had never existed. Even her crushed tomato plants were replaced with new ones. As the sun rose, a tall woman in a white suit approached Kate. Her name was Mrs. White, and she carried a briefcase that seemed to float slightly above the ground. "Miss Thompson," she said, her voice surprisingly warm. "I'm Ray's chief legal advisor. I see he chose well." She looked at Sky, who was still sleeping peacefully. The child always sleeps for 24 hours after space travel. It's normal. Kate found her voice. None of this is normal. Mrs. White smiled. Perhaps not by Earth standards. She opened her floating briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers that glowed softly. "But I assure you, everything is perfectly legal. On both Earth and 17 other planets." The next few hours passed in a blur. Kate learned that Ray had been the owner of Starbridge Technologies, the largest technology company in 3 galaxies. He had invented ways to travel between stars that no one else understood. His company was worth more money than Kate could even imagine. And now it was all hers. Well, hers to manage until Sky was old enough to take over. But how do I explain? Kate gestured at Sky's blue skin. "People will ask questions." Mrs. White pressed a small button on her watch. A shimmer passed over Sky's sleeping form, and suddenly their skin looked as human as Kate's. "Holographic technology," she explained. "It will help Sky blend in. But be careful, it doesn't work in water." Just then, Sky began to stir. Their eyes opened slowly, revealing irises that shifted colors like an aurora. They looked at Kate and smiled. "You're the one Father chose," Sky said in perfect English. Their voice sounded like wind chimes. "I saw you in his thoughts before we landed." Kate felt tears forming in her eyes. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" Sky sat up and looked around with intense curiosity. "I need to learn. About Earth. About humans. About you." They paused. "And I'm hungry. Do you have any food that isn't made of starlight?" Mrs. White pulled out more papers. "Here's a list of foods safe for Sky species. Their digestive system can handle most Earth foods, but nothing too spicy." She handed Kate what looked like a credit card made of crystal. "This will help with expenses." As Kate made breakfast, plain toast and fruit, which the list said was safe. Sky explored the house with endless fascination. They asked questions about everything. Why doors had hinges instead of dissolving when touched, why cars didn't fly, why Kate's computer couldn't talk back to her. "Your technology is so interesting," Sky said, poking at the toaster. "So simple, but beautiful." Mrs. White spent the morning explaining everything. How Ray had secretly watched Kate for months, learning about her character. How he had known his rivals were closing in. How he had trusted Earth, and specifically Kate, to protect both his child and his company's secrets. "The board of directors will help run daily operations," Mrs. White explained, "but major decisions will need your approval. And Sky's education in both human and galactic matters must continue." Kate watched as Sky discovered the joy of feeding birds in the garden. They seemed both incredibly advanced and wonderfully childlike at the same time. "One more thing," Mrs. White said softly. "Ray's rivals. They won't give up easily. The house is now protected by the best security systems in the galaxy. But be careful. Trust your instincts." Ray did. As Mrs. White left, Kate sat in her kitchen, watching Sky draw pictures of constellations she had never seen. Her simple life had become something extraordinary overnight. She was now mother to a child from the stars, keeper of galaxy-changing secrets, and protector of a fortune beyond imagination. Sky looked up and smiled at her. "Can you teach me about gardens? I've never seen plants grow from dirt before. On my world, they grow from light." Kate smiled back. Maybe she could do this after all. One day at a time, one question at a time, one smile at a time. 3 weeks had passed since Ray's crash landing, and Kate was slowly getting used to her new life. Sky had started attending the local elementary school, their holographic disguise working perfectly. They amazed their teachers with incredible math skills, but struggled hilariously with simple things like using scissors or playing jump rope. Everything seemed perfect until the day Kate found the red dot on Sky's forehead while brushing their hair. "That's strange," she said, touching the small mark. At her touch, the entire house suddenly went dark. Red lights began flashing silently along the walls. "Bio-tracker detected," announced a calm voice from nowhere. "Security protocol Alpha engage." Sky's eyes went wide. "Father told me about this. Someone's trying to find me using my DNA." Before Kate could respond, Mrs. White appeared on all the screens in the house. "Get to the safe room." Now, Kate had learned about the safe room during her house's security upgrade. It was hidden behind the pantry, but she had never thought they'd actually need it. She grabbed Sky's hand and ran. They made it just in time. Through the safe room's security feeds, they watched as three figures in sleek black suits materialized in the living room. They moved like smoke, their bodies seeming to flow rather than walk. "Shade hunters," Sky whispered, pressing close to Kate. "They work for the Shadow Board, the ones who wanted Father's research." Kate wrapped her arms around Sky protectively. "What research?" "Father found a way to bridge minds and machines." Sky touched their temple. "Our species can talk to computers naturally. Father found a way to give this power to everyone. But the Shadow Board, they want to use it to control people." The shade hunters were scanning the house with devices that looked like liquid metal spiders. Kate watched as they got closer to the pantry. Suddenly, all the lights in the house turned bright blue. The shade hunters froze, their bodies starting to crystallize. "House defense system activated," the calm voice announced. "Intruders contained." Mrs. White appeared on the safe room's screen. "The security team is 2 minutes away. The hunters will be in crystal stasis until then." She paused. "Kate, I'm sorry. We hoped they wouldn't find you so soon." Kate looked at Sky, who was studying the frozen intruders with a mix of fear and curiosity. "How did they track us?" "The holographic disguise," Sky said quietly. "When I got excited during gym class yesterday, it flickered for a second. They must have gotten a DNA scan then." The security team arrived in what looked like normal delivery vans. They removed the crystallized hunters and fixed the house's security. Mrs. White arrived shortly after. "We need to upgrade Sky's disguise," she said. "And Kate, it's time you learned to use some of Ray's more advanced security measures." Over the next few hours, Kate learned how to activate various house defenses using simple hand gestures. Sky got a new holographic disguise, this one built into a bracelet that looked like ordinary plastic. "The Shadow Board won't give up," Mrs. White warned. "Ray's research could change everything." And Sky. She looked at the child who was now practicing the new security gestures alongside Kate. Sky is the key to all of it. They inherited their father's genius with technology. That night, after everything had calmed down, Kate found Sky in the garden. They were talking softly to her flowers, and to her amazement, the plants seemed to be growing and blooming as she watched. "The plants here respond so well to energy," Sky said, "just like our computers back home." They looked up at Kate with those color-shifting eyes. "I'm sorry I put you in danger." Kate sat down beside them. "Hey, we're family now. Family protects each other." She smiled. "And next time, those shadow guys better think twice before trying to break into our house." Sky smiled back, and a nearby rosebud bloomed in response. "Father was right about you," they said. "Your heart really does shine the brightest." After the attack, Mrs. White decided it was time for Kate and Sky to visit Ray's home planet. "You need to understand where Sky comes from," she explained, pulling out what looked like a regular subway card. "This will take us there." Kate stared at the card. "To another planet. Just swipe it on your closet door," Mrs. White said with a smile. "Pack light." That evening, Kate watched in amazement as her bedroom closet transformed into a glowing doorway. Sky bounced with excitement, their blue skin shimmering as they dropped their holographic disguise. Home, they said. Well, my old home. You're my home now. Stepping through the door felt like walking through a warm summer breeze. When the light faded, Kate found herself in a city that took her breath away. Buildings made of crystal floated in the air. Flying vehicles that looked like soap bubbles moved between them. The sky was a soft purple, with 3 moons visible even in daylight. "Welcome to Lumeria," Mrs. White said, "capital city of the bright worlds." Their hotel room was actually a floating garden with walls made of light. Sci immediately ran to the window wall, pressing their hands against it. The wall responded to their touch, showing images of the city's history. "Look," Sci pointed excitedly. "That's Father's first invention. He made lights that could think." The next morning, they visited Starbridge Technologies' main office. Unlike the crystal buildings, it was a simple silver tower. Ray believed in practical things, Mrs. White explained. Inside, Kate learned what it meant to run an interstellar company. Holographic screens showed projects on 100 different worlds. Employees of various species bowed respectfully as they passed. "They know your Sky's chosen guardian," Mrs. White explained. "In our culture, that makes you as important as any royal." Sky spent the morning showing Kate their father's workshop. They touched different machines, and each one lit up and responded. "Father taught them to recognize family," Sky explained. "See, they like you too." Kate watched in amazement as a small robot flew to her, chirping like a bird. It landed on her shoulder and projected a hologram of Ray. "If you're seeing this," Ray's image said, "then you've come to understand why I chose you, Kate Thompson. My people create amazing things, but we often forget about the simple magic of love and trust. That's what Sky needs most. That's what you understand better than anyone." The hologram smiled. "There's a gift for you in drawer 17. It will help you protect Sky better." Inside the drawer, they found a simple silver ring. When Kate put it on, she felt a warm tingle in her mind. "It's a neural link." Sky clapped excitedly. "Now you can talk to computers like we do." Kate focused on a nearby screen, and to her amazement, it responded to her thoughts. "This is incredible. Ray invented it," Mrs. White explained. "The first successful human-compatible neural interface. This is what the Shadow Board wants so badly." That afternoon, they'd visited the Science Council. The council members, tall figures with silvery skin like Ray's, tested Sky's abilities. Kate watched proudly as Sky solved complex equations and made machines dance with just a thought. "Extraordinary," one council member said. "The child has both Ray's gift for technology and something new. Something human." On their last night on Lumeria, Kate and Sky sat in their floating garden room, watching the 3 moons rise. Sky was teaching Kate to make the walls change colors with her new neural link. "Do you miss this place?" Kate asked softly. Sky leaned against her. "Sometimes, but Earth has something better." They looked up at Kate. "It has you." As the moons cast their light over the crystal city, Kate realized something important. She had come here thinking she needed to understand Sky's world. Instead, she had learned that love and family work the same way on every planet. Back on Earth, Kate's neural link ring helped her notice things she had missed before, like how her coffee maker had been sending her secret messages every morning, trying to warn her about the Shadow Board spies watching their house. One morning, while Sky was teaching their teddy bear to float, a new trick they had learned on Lumeria, Kate's ring detected something strange in Ray's old files. "Mrs. White," Kate called through the house's communication system, "I think you should see this." Mrs. White arrived within minutes. On Kate's computer screen, lines of alien code danced and shifted. Thanks to her neural link, Kate could now read them. "This is why Ray chose you specifically," Kate said slowly, understanding filling her mind. "My DNA, it's special." Mrs. White nodded. "We wondered when you'd find out. You're 1 in a billion, Kate. Your genetic structure is perfectly compatible with our technology. Ray discovered this when he first started watching you." Sky looked up from their floating teddy bear. That's why Father's machines like you so much. You're like us. Kate touched her ring. So Ray's big invention, the one everyone's fighting over. He used your DNA pattern as a template. Mrs. White confirmed. The neural link works for you because you're naturally compatible. Ray found a way to use your genetic pattern to make it work for everyone. Sky suddenly went very still. The shadow board is coming, they whispered. Their eyes glowed with streams of data. They know about Mother's DNA. Kate's heart warmed at hearing Sky call her mother for the first time. But there wasn't time to celebrate. The house's security systems were already activating. They're different this time, Sky said, their voice distant as they connected with the house computers. They brought humans. Through the security cameras, they watched as normal-looking people in business suits approached the house. But Kate's neural link showed her their true nature. Their minds were being controlled by shadowboard technology. They're testing an illegal version of the neural link, Mrs. White said grimly, forcing human minds to obey them. Kate felt anger rise in her chest. This is what Ray was trying to prevent. He wanted to connect people, not control them. Sky's teddy bear suddenly grew to twice its size and stood up, ready to defend its friend. All around the house, ordinary objects began to change and move as Sky's powers grew with their emotions. I won't let them hurt you, Mother, Sky said, their voice echoing with power. The toys in their room floated up, transforming into small guardian robots. Neither will I, Kate said, her neural link glowing brighter. She could feel Ray's security systems responding to her thoughts, ready to protect her child. Mrs. White smiled proudly at them both. Now you understand why Ray chose you, Kate, not just for your DNA, but for your heart. The shadowboard thinks power comes from control, but real power comes from love. Sky finished, holding Kate's hand. The controlled humans reached their front gate. Behind them, dark shapes of shade hunters moved like living shadows. What do we do? Kate asked, squeezing Sky's hand. We show them what Ray's technology is really meant for, Sky said confidently. Not to control, but to connect, to protect, to help. As their enemies approached, Kate felt something new through her neural link. Not just the house's computers, but Sky's consciousness, bright and loving and brave. Together, their minds joined with Ray's machines, ready to face whatever came next. The teddy bear warrior let out a surprisingly fierce roar, and the battle for the future of two worlds began. The battle began with a garden hose. As the mind-controlled humans approached, Sky made all the yard sprinklers rise up like snakes. We have to help them, Sky said. They're being forced to do this. Kate nodded, understanding through her neural link that the people were fighting against their control. She could feel their minds struggling, like birds trapped in dark cages. The teddy bear warrior stood guard while Sky's toy robots formed a defensive line. Mrs. White activated her emergency beacon, calling for help from Starbridge Security. But they all knew help would take time to arrive. Remember what we learned on Lemuria, Kate said to Sky, about combining our abilities. Sky's eyes lit up. Together, they reached out through their neural links. Kate's natural connection combined with Sky's alien powers, creating something entirely new. The garden came alive. Not just the sprinklers, but every plant and flower. Vines grew in seconds, wrapping gently around the controlled humans. Their neural controls are in their earpieces, Sky said, their mind reading the technology. If we can remove them. The shade hunters chose that moment to attack. They flowed like living darkness toward the house, but Sky's toy robots met them head-on. The teddy bear warrior turned out to be surprisingly good at martial arts. Kate focused on the trapped humans while Sky handled the hunters. Through her neural link, she could sense the shadowboard's control technology. It was like Ray's invention, but twisted, forced to hurt instead of help. I can break their control, Kate realized, but I need more power. Use the house, Sky called out while commanding their robot army. Father built it to help us. Kate connected to the house's systems, feeling energy flow through her neural link. She reached out to the trapped minds, offering them a way out, a choice, freedom. One by one, the controlled humans pulled off their earpieces. They blinked in confusion, then ran from the battle. The Shade Hunters, seeing their human weapons freed, changed tactics. They merged together into one massive shadow creature that towered over the house. "Oh, that's not good," Mrs. White muttered. But Sci just smiled. "Mother," they said, "remember the flowers?" "On my first day here." Kate understood. Together, they reached out to every living thing in the garden. Plants, insects, birds, all responded to their combined power. The garden rose up like a green tidal wave. The shadow creature fought back with tendrils of darkness, but it couldn't match the pure energy of nature combined with Ray's technology. Sci's toy robots joined in, their cheerful colors cutting through the darkness. The teddy bear warrior delivered the final blow, hitting the shadow creature with a perfect carrot chop while shouting, "Fuses e justus." The creature exploded into harmless shadows that faded in the sunlight. The garden settled back down, though Kate noticed her roses now looked particularly pleased with themselves. As Starbridge security finally arrived, Sci hugged Kate tightly. "We did it. We showed them what the technology should really do." Mrs. White surveyed the aftermath. The garden looking wilder but healthier than ever, the toys returning to normal size, though the teddy bear kept striking martial arts poses, and the shadow board's weapons destroyed. "The shadow board will think twice before trying this again," she said. "You two just showed the universe what happens when human compassion meets alien technology." Kate looked at her neural link ring, then at Sci. "We showed them what family can do," she corrected. Ray knew that love was the most powerful force in any galaxy. Sci made a nearby flower bloom with a thought. "And now everyone knows why he chose you to be my mother." As the security team cleaned up, Kate and Sci sat in their victorious garden, surrounded by satisfied plants and heroic toys. They had faced the darkness together and won with light. 1 year after the Great Garden Battle, Kate sat in Ray's old office on Lumeria, watching Sci give their first speech to the Science Council. Her neural link ring glowed softly, letting her feel the pride and joy radiating from her child's mind. The shadow board was wrong, Sci told the council, their blue skin shimmering with confidence. "They thought controlling minds would make them powerful, but my father knew better, and my mother taught me what real power is." The council chamber was packed with beings from 100 worlds. After the battle on Earth, the story of a human mom and her alien child defeating the shadow board had spread across the galaxies. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. "Today, we're releasing Father's neural link technology. The right way," Sci continued. "Not to control, but to connect. To help people understand each other better." Kate smiled as she remembered the past year. The shadow board had been exposed and disbanded. Their leaders now spent their days in crystal prisons, thinking about their mistakes. The controlled humans had been freed and healed, many of them now working for Starbridge Technologies. And the teddy bear warrior. It had become Sci's official bodyguard, though it still liked cuddles and afternoon naps. Mrs. White sat next to Kate, reviewing reports on a holographic screen. "Ray's company has tripled in size," she said. "Everyone wants technology that helps instead of controls. And it all started with a mother's love." Through her neural link, Kate could feel how Ray's machines had spread across Earth. Always gentle, always helpful. Hospitals used them to understand patients better. Schools used them to help children learn in new ways. Gardens everywhere grew a little bit better, thanks to Sci's special touch with plants. But the best part, Sci was saying to the council, is that we discovered something new. When human hearts meet alien technology, amazing things happen. Like this. Sci gestured, and the council chamber's crystal walls bloomed with flowers, real earth flowers, growing from alien crystal. The council members gasped in wonder. "My mother's DNA. didn't just help create neural links, Sci explained. It showed us that humans have gifts we never imagined. They can make technology kinder, more natural, more alive. Kate thought about her garden back home, where flowers now bloomed year-round, and the vegetables tasted better than ever. She thought about Sky's room, where toys still came alive to play but now also helped with homework and chores. After the speech, Sky ran to hug Kate. "Did I do okay, Mother?" "You did amazing," Kate said, feeling tears of pride in her eyes. Through their neural link, she shared all her love and joy. Mrs. White smiled at them both. "Ray would be so proud, not just of the technology, but of the family you've become." That evening, they had a small party in their floating garden room. The 3 moons of Lumeria shone down on a strange but perfect family gathering. Human scientists mingled with alien council members. Earth plants grew alongside crystal flowers. The teddy bear warrior taught younger toys its martial arts moves. Sky fell asleep in Kate's lap, surrounded by their 2 worlds coming together in harmony. "Thank you," Kate whispered to the stars, knowing Ray could somehow hear her. "Thank you for choosing me, for trusting me, for giving me the greatest gift in any galaxy, the chance to be Sky's mother." A shooting star streaked across the purple sky, leaving a trail of golden light. Through her neural link, Kate felt the star's light carrying a message, a familiar warmth that felt like Ray's smile. As Sky slept peacefully in her arms, Kate Thompson, human mom, guardian of alien technology, protector of 2 worlds, knew that the greatest power in the universe wasn't in any machine or invention. It was in the simple love between a mother and child, no matter what planet they came from.